Good morning, and thank you all for being here and joining us this morning. I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of our partners here in government who have come together and working on this important project, a number of whom you'll hear from in just a few moments, but I certainly want to acknowledge this distinguished group, starting with the Mayor of the City of Rochester, lovely Warren, Dean of our Assembly Delegation, Harry Bronson, New York State Senator Jeremy Cooney, Assembly Member Damon Meeks, and distinguished members of the Rochester City Council. Vice President Willie Lightfoot, Council members Lachey Harris and Jose Peo. So thank you all so much for being here. It's humbling and gratifying to be able to announce progress on a project that has been a long time coming for our community. For too long, the Interloop has sanctioned off and sectioned off entire parts of the city of Rochester, creating essentially silos and closing off neighborhoods to development that could have uplifted families, reversed the impacts of poverty, and created a true downtown community. We've taken great steps to right this long-standing wrong with the Interloop East project, which has been a huge success, and certainly the mayor and her team deserve an enormous amount of credit for bringing that, and it's such a beautiful project. But we need to keep progress going, and that's why we're here today. I'm proud to announce that we've been able to, and I've worked towards securing $4 million in funding for the Interloop North Transformation Project to fill the northern section with a street-level boulevard that will connect our neighborhoods. Today we're all standing in Schiller Park, something I did not know, unfortunately, you can see it's really not much of a park any longer because it was chopped in half by the original construction of the Interloop. This transformational project has the potential to restore not only this park and reconnect the neighborhoods behind us, along with many other neighborhoods like it on the northern part of the city. That's why, working with our partners at the City of Rochester, the mayor and her team, I advanced this proposal as part of this year's Surface Transportation Member Designation projects, and I'm so pleased that it was included in the recently passed House of Representatives Surface Transportation Bill. This is a transformational investment that will unite downtown Rochester and strengthen our urban core at a time when it's needed most as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Most importantly, it will help us correct the mistakes of previous generations that have served only to further marginalize underserved communities. By moving this project forward, we demonstrate our commitment to working together to build a more equitable and inclusive future for the City of Rochester. This funding has already passed the House of Representatives, as I indicated, and we're continuing to push to have it included in the Build Back Better Act, which hopefully we'll take up at the end of this month. I want to urge, again, my partners in the United States Senate to join us in prioritizing this necessary infrastructure project that will have profound implications for our community. The White House has signaled the President's willingness to sign it. We need the Senate to include it in their version of the bill, so when we conference, we can get this included and move this project forward. I'm so grateful, as I said, for partnership of our colleagues in government who have been strong and persistent advocates for this incredibly important project. So it's now my pleasure to turn it over to the Mayor of the City of Rochester, who has done such an amazing job on the Interloop East project and now continues to lead the fight to make sure this project comes to reality. Let me introduce the Mayor of the City of Rochester, lovely Warren.
We'll give hugs. Definitely want to thank Congressman Morelle. Let's please give him a big round of applause for his leadership in supporting the City of Rochester in so many ways. I'm thankful to be joined by members of City Council. We have Vice President Willie Joe Lightfoot, Councilmember Lachey Harris, as well as Councilmember Peo that is here as well joining us. We're excited about this project. As the Congressman described, the Interloop East project has been a successful project connecting neighborhoods, but this project truly is about reparations. It's about righting the wrong, right? The Interloop divided neighborhoods, and on the other side of this Interloop, this side of the Interloop, you have one of the most challenged neighborhoods in the City of Rochester. And we are looking to work with those neighbors in order to build back this community in a way that is beneficial to all. Also on the other side of this Interloop is Prayer House Church, which Vice President Lightfoot is the pastor of. And so when you think about being able to connect people to to resources, connect neighborhoods to downtown. Will be a transformational project, but this project really touches home because it was the last project that Assemblyman David Gant wanted to get done. It was something that he had provided first $1 million to the city to research how we could do that, and we're in the process of doing that right now, working with our neighbors and our community to develop the plan that will allow us to get not only the $4 million that Congressman Morelle is talking about, but we're hopeful to get the rest of the dollars from the federal and state government to be able to bring the project to fruition like we were able to do when it came down to the Interloop East project. And that truly was about public-private partnership, the state, the city, the federal government working hand in hand together to make it to come to life. At that point in time, when we looked at the Interloop East project, we had some great leaders with us. Congresswoman Louise Slaughter was here. We also had Assemblyman David Gant, as I indicated before. And they all contributed to making that project successful. So I know with the partnership that we have here today, our state leaders, as well as our federal leaders in the city working collectively together, we can make this neighborhood once again a neighborhood and connect each other to downtown the way that we should. And this truly, again, is about reparations. Assemblyman David Gant described that as being a catalyst for really revitalizing the northern part of our city, one of the most challenged parts of our community still today, one of the poorest parts of our community. And we believe that by connecting this neighborhood to downtown, we will be making sure that the children and the families in their neighborhood have the boulevard, the housing, and the support that they need in order to make a difference for tomorrow. And so this is truly what this is about, and I'm thankful to be able to be joined by our congressman and his leadership on this project and other projects around our community, but most of all, to be working together with such great partners and making sure that we right the wrongs of the past. Thank you.
You know, I want to underscore what the mayor said. You know, you don't necessarily think of transportation projects as necessarily having an impact, but they have a huge impact in the physical design and layout, but that also means that it keeps, in this case, people apart and has done countless damage over the years, and we seek to right that wrong. I also want to, and I'm going to call her up in just a few minutes, also acknowledge State Senator Samra Brooke has joined us as well. Thank you for being here. And I can't also overstate how important the partnership with our state partners is. I served for many years, as you know, in the state legislature, and we often worked with our federal partners and local partners to make things like this a reality, and that will be the case again here as well. And it gives me great great pleasure and a privilege to introduce my former Assembly colleague and certainly a continued colleague and partner, the longest-serving member of the New York State delegation from Rochester, Assembly Member Harry Bronson.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for all the work you're doing in Congress, but we do miss you in the New York State Assembly, and we're happy that you're in Congress, though, and able to partner with us. So, you know, this is another part of a project to unite our neighborhoods, and as the mayor said, you know, it is a project that our past dean of the delegation, David Gant, had worked on and pushed, and I think he pushed it and for the same reason that we're pushing it, and that is because we in government need to make decisions, whether it's policy decisions or funding decisions, on the basis of whether or not it's going to move us forward and closer to equity and justice. Uniting neighborhoods by having the Interloop filled in is an issue of equity and justice. It's an issue of bringing our neighborhoods together. It's an issue of connecting this particular neighborhood with the heart of downtown, and the importance of that is because it translates into creating opportunities. It translates into making sure that we have a connectedness of our families throughout this city. And you know, I want to thank the Congress member for securing these funds and pushing it forward at the federal level. I want to thank the mayor for all the work that you've done on Interloop East to make that a success. It's an amazing location, and we can do the same thing right here. And I also want to thank all of my partners in state government for being supportive of this project and for helping us hopefully secure additional funds. We've had conversations with the executive branch in that regard, and we'll continue those conversations to bring that money here and be able to supplement the federal dollars. And I want to thank all of our local partners, city council members, and again the mayor, for all the great work that you're doing to make sure that we move one step closer through this project to equity and justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Bronson. Let me now ask to come up longtime friend of mine, Senator Jeremy Cooney, who has worked very hard with his colleagues in the state delegation. I know that I've been in Congress now a few years because we didn't serve together. I feel like I've served with every state legislator, but apparently not. So our two freshman members who are doing such an amazing job as a delegation to the New York State Senate. Without further ado, Senator Jeremy Cooney.
First and foremost, this is just a quick message to say thank you, Congressman, for your continued dedication. We miss you in Albany, but we know you're doing the good work for us down in Washington, and we're very grateful for that. My message is very quick, which is we talk a lot about infrastructure. This project is infrastructure with heart, because it's about people. It's not just about building roads and bridges and creating new buildings. This is about reconnecting neighborhoods, and this is about the people that we're looking to serve and to increase their quality of life. I live and work 4 blocks from where we're standing today. And so these are my neighbors. This is my neighborhood. And you, Congressman, are making a transformational investment, and you, Mayor, have already done so on the east side of the city, and we're going to do that right here in downtown Rochester. You can't have a conversation about revitalizing downtown Rochester without having a conversation about the people who live in downtown Rochester. And I'm so proud to be one of those citizens, and I'm proud of the many new citizens that we will gain to our downtown community once this project is completed. So again, thank you, Congressman, for your investment, and we look forward to being good, strong partners in the state of New York.
Thank you, Senator. And let me introduce the second member of our delegation for the New York State Senate, representing the city of Rochester, a great friend, Senator Samra Brooke.
Man, these bees out here. So sorry, I'm wiping them away, but we worked through it. Good morning, everyone. I just want to again thank Congressman Morelle for bringing us together here. It wasn't too long ago that we had a similar conversation. We had our 2 U.S. senators here, and I think the message should be to all of Rochester, people are paying attention to us. People understand that there have been, as the mayor so beautifully put, there have been wrongs that need to be made right. And I hope that all of us who live here in the city and represent the city of Rochester can see this is a strong coalition of government partners on every single level who believe that, as Assemblymember Bronson said, it's time to pursue equity and justice. This project will bring a community together. This project is only the result of putting people in these positions who understand what it means to look historically at how we've gotten to where we are and how we do better moving forward. It's my honor to be one of the newest members of the state delegation, and we are working hard at the state level as well to make parallel investments, and so you can count on us to be a part of that project as well and do everything we can. So thank you again to our partners and to our mayor and our city partners. It's always a pleasure to work together to promote our city, to boost our city, and to make sure everyone knows that this is where things are happening. So thank you.
I want to acknowledge City Council Member Mary Lupian has joined us as well this morning. We're grateful, Mary, that you're here as well. Let me now call up another great friend, another member of our state delegation. This is really so important. I do want to also acknowledge Dave Gant, who I had the privilege of serving in the State Assembly for about 26 years with David, and there's so many things around this community which bear his name, and if they don't bear his name, they're certainly the result of his hard work. So this is another way for us to remember the long legacy of David Gant by making sure this project becomes a reality. The seat that David held for so long is now held by a dear friend, Damon Meeks, who is represented and working hard. And if I could ask Assemblymember Meeks to come and join us now. Thank you.
Greetings all. It's a great day to be here. This is something that, I personally recognize as a Day of Atonement, looking at the history of the city of Rochester and the challenges that lie within. I remember last year reaching out to all candidates, all Democratic candidates that were running for office, and I asked them to join me for a racial justice training. And in completing that training, we committed to looking at the work that we do through a racial justice lens. And that included everyone running from our congressmen on down to city positions as well as county positions. With that being said, this is one of those projects that I look forward to. One of my major frustrations that I often see is we see these major projects taking place in our community, but they're not necessarily inclusive of black and brown bodies. So today, let us commit to also assuring that when we move forward and filling in the Interloop, that we also go forward past the train tracks and ensure that individuals throughout these communities have opportunities to build themselves as well as our community. Thank you.
Again, I want to thank everyone for being here. I think this really does show how local, state, and federal governments must work together if we're going to see real progress in our community, and I'm hopeful that this will be one way. And I've talked to Senator Schumer about this project. I know that he was here when, unfortunately, the House was in Washington in session, so I wasn't able to be here at the earlier announcement, but I told him that we were going to get this funding. We got it done in the House, and I'm looking forward to working with him to continue our efforts and continue to move this project forward in Washington. With that, we're happy to take any questions. Yeah, so I'll turn it over to the mayor. The mayor asked for us to secure this funding. We did, and I think I'll let her describe what the initial $4 million investment will provide for the city.
So this is a little bit different than the Interloop East project because it's a lot larger, it's a lot longer. We have the first initial $1 million to start the design, but we know that we'll need additional dollars to do testing, to make sure that that when we fill it in, that the geotechnical stuff. One of the big things is rather we will actually put fill it in or build a top over it, so a tunnel. So those are all things that we're talking about right now, but these dollars will help the city be able to finish design, finish working with the community to understand and hear their concerns, because as you know, with growing any project, you have neighbors on each side. Everyone has their vision of what this should look like, could look like. We also have businesses that will be impacted by our decisions. We have a number of businesses that are at the public market that rely on being able to get to the highway very quickly. And so all of those things have got to be considered when we're doing this. And it's going to cost a lot more than the initial $1 million to actually to help us design this project, and so the initial dollars will go towards design, but we're looking at the upwards of $40 to $50 million to actually complete this project and make sure that it's something that the community can be proud of. Yes, once it's completely designed and we understand what the community is looking for and what it would take to actually bring the project to fruition, we will of course be going back to our congressmen and our state delegation. For those that didn't know, with the Interloop East project, we were able to secure a federal Tiger grant, I believe about $18 million. The state came in and helped us with another $4 million, and the city covered about $1 million of that cost. So it truly was every level of government working together to bring it to fruition. And so we're eager to get the infrastructure bill done and eager for this money to come so that we can design this and be in a position to be able to access those funds when the whole infrastructure bill is complete. So when we talk about $50 million, if you're going to phase it in, you know, to really go all the way to State Street, you're talking about probably about 70 to 80 million. But right now, we know that getting that kind of money just for the city of Rochester may be a challenge. And so we're looking at how do we do this in phases that can be beneficial, connecting the initial neighborhoods, connecting the school. As you know, thankful to the state for the facilities modernization project because we were able to redo School 58. But we also know that they don't have a field. They have a great soccer team. They don't have a field to play in. It goes K through 12. They only have one gym in the school. So this type of project will allow us to be able to help our schools as well as do a number of things to connect the neighborhoods and to do it in a phased-in way. And that's what we're looking at. That's what we would have to design.
So in the House, without getting a lot of details, but in the House we passed a surface transportation bill which included this money, and that's passed the House. We're now in conversations about infrastructure, right? And there is some money in the infrastructure bill for connecting downtown communities. That's not where this resides right now, although I think in my conversation with Senator Schumer, it could. I think those of us in the House, as we're going through reconciling the bill between the Senate and the House, and also the Build Back Better Act, which we're working on, that's been referred to as reconciliation. There's also an effort to try to put infrastructure dollars there. So I'm a little agnostic to where it ends up being. I only care that it happens. So and that's what my conversation with Senator Schumer is about. I also note that I had a conversation with Secretary Buttigieg when he came before the Rules Committee. He has been a big proponent of a program to break down barriers that occurred not just in Rochester, but a lot of communities where roadways were built that cut off downtown areas and business areas from neighborhoods. So there's a real effort to try to repair those, and so I'll look for whatever way is possible to come up with the dollars. But our bill was the Surface Transportation Act. We're now working, and Pete DeFazio, who's the chairman of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in the House, is working with Senate counterparts to try to make sure we include these projects. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. I think it's easier if there's going to be a large pot of money that's designated for restoring the connection between business districts and neighborhoods where they've been cut in half. So if there's a pot of that money, and I think right now it's been talked about at about $1 billion, so clearly not enough to meet the needs around the country. But it's easier to access a particular program that's set up that way. But again, I don't care how that's going to work. I'm just going to continue to fight. And whatever places that I think that there are opportunities, even if it's piecing money together or if it comes out of one pot, I think the mayor probably doesn't care. I suspect my partners don't care either. So, and we do also understand this is going to be a several-year effort. So we've got to be continued commitment to making sure this happens. And I think the mayor did a great job of describing probably the phased way that we will do that, but we're just going to have to keep at it. This is about as important a project as I've seen in the decades that I've been in public service. So, any other questions? Terrific. Yeah.
I'll take that off.
Yeah,
I'll take it off.
we can do off-topic things. Right. In the interim, again, thank you, members of City Council. Thanks to you, members of our state delegation, and thank all of you for being here this morning.
Great, thank you for the data.
Yeah, thank you.
No.